Welcome to this leadership training. We have diversity training. This is basically training for all of us to work with different people in our committees. So if you work in your committees, you will see different people. Now, we have raised in different cultures. So what is culture? Culture, according to Geert Hofstede, the collective programming of the mind, distinguishing one group from the other. According to Franz Trompenas, culture is the shared ways in which groups of people understand and interpret the world. So we are living in our own culture, whether we know it or not, we just live in the culture. So we want to bridge gaps through cultural proficiency. First, we have to aware our own culture, and then we have to aware others' culture, and then learn how to bridge the gap. For example, some people have a monochronic in terms of time, monochronic culture. Some people have a polychronic culture. Monochronic culture means they believe punctuality is important and everyone should be on time. Polychronic culture, people believe what happens is more important than when it starts and ends. So as you see, I start at 6, I will end at 7. So I'm monochronic person. So if somebody is working with me and the person is not a good person because he or she is late. And that's kind of a bias. And when I invited a missionary from Africa, the worship starts at 6. He's supposed to come at 6 and share his mission work at our church. He came around 6:30. And I said, this is the 6:30. He said, yeah, but the sun is still up there and we are okay. It was not okay for me. So if you are working with a monochronic person and polychronic person has to be really aware how they perceive your actions. In your committee, when you start the meeting, just be aware that some people are polychronic. And if you are a polychronic chair, you have to be aware that monochronic people will keep watching their clocks if you don't end at 7. So it's just a difference to culture, so you have to be aware. And also, some people see the difference very clearly. And some people have a surfacing difference culture. Some people have a maintaining harmony culture. So if you have this surfacing difference culture, you address these differences directly so that problem can be solved quickly. But if you have this maintaining harmony culture, you deal with the differences indirectly and behind the scenes to avoid causing upset or loss of face. So if you are thinking about your own style, what are you? Do you have surfacing difference culture or maintaining harmony culture? Anybody? What is your style?
Surfacing differences.
Oh,
Let's throw them on the table. Let's talk about them and let's get this going.
oh, okay. Yeah. If you are working with Marianne Cox, you have to aware that differences she will
Yes.
talk about directly.
Right.
And
Anybody else?
Marianne, I would do harmony. I want to balance, maintain calm.
Oh, so Alan Cook is going to say that, okay, Marianne, maybe you are right. I'll change my vote or something like that. And some people are very direct. and they don't hesitate to say that they have different opinions. But some people, even though they have different opinions, they try to keep the harmony. So, okay, yeah, I think that's okay, and things like that happens. So if you are a chair of any committee, be aware in your committee who has this surfacing different style, and some people have maintained harmony style. And also, some people are emotionally restrained people, and some people are emotionally expressive people. When I was a chaplain at the hospital, doing my like a clinical pastoral education CPE training, I was on call at night. If there is a Hispanic Latino boy was hurt and came to the emergency room, I can hear the mothers screaming from the parking lot. But if there is a northeast Western European mom comes, she's just coming quietly and says, "Where is my son? Oh, is he okay?" So calm. So I think that culture is emotionally restrained. They prefer to keep emotions private and in check. But some people believe that emotion is necessary to fully communicate the meaning. So these two people are working together in a committee. Some people are just shouting and yelling just to say their own opinion. And some people don't say anything, just quiet. But that person also had emotion. So even though the other person didn't show emotion, it doesn't mean that the person is not angry or not mad or not upset. It's just a different style. So when you think about it, who is emotionally restrained style? I'm just curious.
I think I am. I try to keep things calm
Okay.
and not criticize others or put them down or
So I will remember that. Emotionally expressive people, I don't have to ask because they will just show it on their face. An attitude towards task and relationship. Some people are task focused. They prefer to follow an agenda and prioritize getting the job done, and they become impatient with the socializing. When people talk about their dogs, their flowers and gardens, they said, let's go back to the business. But some people have a relationship focused. They value time spent in building relationships and works better with people once a relationship is established. So they don't just start with the business. They play golf for an hour. At the end of the golf hour, when they are about to go, oh, by the way, can I rent your room? And they say the business at the end. So sometimes it works, especially if we are working with Chinese people. They value quanxi. That means like accumulated relationship. Without that relationship, they don't want to have a business with you. But some European culture, they say that read the contract, and if you like it, you sign it, then it's done. And after you made a contract, you can have a party together or a meal together. So when you think about these two different styles, if they work together in a same committee, what would happen in your mind? Anybody?
Some people just want to get the job done and move on.
Mhm.
And other people would like to, have a little bit of social time to talk with their friends or
Mhm.
get to know other people better.
Yeah.
And there isn't anything wrong with either style.
Right, that's the point. There is nothing wrong with either style, but when you are not aware of it
Right.
and you just try to impose your style on others, sometimes conflicts can happen, especially the committee chair. is a task-focused person, the person will do the job boom, 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 boom. And other people are like, slow down, let's have some time to think about it and things like that. And if the chair is relationship focused, he or she is going to ask, how is your mom? How is your son? And they all just share many things, and some people become irritated. So if you are a chair or a person, you have to be aware that things are happening here. Do you have do any of you have some issues or problems because of this type of differences?
I think that sometimes committee chairs can try and cram too many things on the agenda
Oh,
for the hour allotted.
yeah.
And then they are loath to go over that hour if it's necessary. So they become very task focused. And
Yeah.
for people who are relationship focused,
Uh-huh.
that's very frustrating because they don't get to express their opinion in full. So the people who are task focused need to learn to bend a little, and the people who are relationship focused need to learn to swallow some of it and just, keep going with the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, it works both ways. There has to be give and take on both parts.
Right. There are some times, especially when we have church council, there are so many committees they want to report their ministries, and if we have only 1 hour, and sometimes it's very crowded, and
And
yeah,
too difficult to get through in 1 hour.
sometimes yeah that happens.
Yes.
But do you have any idea, anybody, to solve this dilemma? How do you want to make it happen within an hour and still have a job done?
Well, I think if you have a chair that's aware of this, they can
Mhm.
do both. They can gradually kind of just ease into the agenda.
Mhm.
And because people will start bringing up topics that are on the agenda as part of
Mhm.
the general conversation, you'll say, oh, well, that brings us right to the agenda.
Oh,
So there's ways to transition from visiting, which I think is important, to
oh,
doing the agenda, which I think is important.
yes. I guess you are also very task focused, and then, but you know how to make segue into that task through the
Yeah,
relationship fellowship talk.
right.
Yes,
Because it's important. I mean, people won't come if they don't have a relationship with other people that they enjoy.
right.
Right.
That's right. And also, people have a different attitude towards power, and some people have a low power distance. That means treat others the same, no matter their position or status in the community. And some people have a high power distance. They treat others differently depending on their title, age, position, and rank. So sometimes some people keep coming to me, ask, Pastor, what do you think about it? That means they have high power distance attitude. And some people said, oh, pastor has just one voice, one vote. They have low power distance. So as a committee chair, you have to be aware that some members have a low power distance, so they don't give special weight to the chair. And some people have high power distance, they value the chair's opinion. So in the low power distance, they call me Hai Sang-ho. In high power distance culture, they call me Reverend Dr. Sang-ho Lee. And I was like, what are you talking about, right? Uh, so just curious, who has this high power distance culture, do you think? Any of you have a high power distance culture? Everybody has a low power distance? Maybe Cambodian has more high power distance, don't you think?
So Paul has her hand raised.
Yeah.
I have my pastor, he used a high power distance to
Uh-huh.
people.
So yeah, so usually Asian culture is more hierarchical. So pastors in Asian community, they have more like high power distance attitude. And if we are Americanized, so-called Americanized people have a more low power distant culture. So I think I am very Americanized. So, and sometimes when I go to Korea, and that's what I hear so many times. Oh, you are so Americanized. So that's very different. Another Americanized culture is individualistic. So they prefer to be recognized individually for their work. Actions and decisions are determined by the individual's need. But some people have a collectivistic culture. They prefer not to be singled out for recognition. Actions and decisions are determined by the community's need. Do you have any good examples about these two differences? Anybody? Let's go to the individualistic culture example first. What is a good example of individualistic culture?
Well, I think the American culture is very individualistic,
Yeah.
but I would think that Hispanic culture is very collectivistic. The family is
Mhm.
the ultimate, whereas the individual doesn't count as
Mhm.
much as the needs of the family.
Yeah.
But sometimes the family dynamic is very different than the public dynamic. If
Uh-huh.
you have Hispanic men in a group,
Mhm.
they can be very individualistic
Mhm.
and they only talk to each other. They leave women out sometimes. And that happens in all cultures,
Oh,
by the way. It's
yeah.
better than it used to be. But
Yeah.
I've been in more than one meeting where it's a secretary who has a great idea
Uh-huh.
and one of the men bring it up and all the men go, oh yeah, that's brilliant. And then I'll say, yes, Sally presented that. Isn't that a great idea? So I've
Oh.
always been tried to be the leveler of that kind of behavior
Uh-huh.
at Delta College. And it does irritate me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So when people have a collectivistic culture, they try to achieve the community's goal, sometimes even though that means sacrifice of individuals. And individualistic culture, it doesn't happen. And many times in Asian culture or Hispanic culture, because it's communal culture, they sometimes require sacrifice of individuals. And many times, as Marianne Cox talked about, the people who made the sacrifice are the women or the powerless people. Uh, when Korea was developing in 60s and 70s, many people sacrificed their individual happiness to build up the country after the Korean War. And yeah, we did. We built up a country, very strong country. However, many people sacrificed their lives and then their families. But again, it was mostly women and powerless, marginalized people. So sometimes the individualistic culture, they honor even a powerless individual's human rights. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes collectivist culture has that kind of weakness. However, the Bible is written and transmitted in the collectivistic culture. So many times when you read the Bible, there are things that you cannot even understand. Many times, like the women sacrifice their lives and they just try to succeed the family line and they gave up their own happiness and do all kinds of things. And I don't understand. And Western women would not understand that so easily unless they study the historical background and context. That's how it works. But if we are working in your committee with the different groups of people, this cultural difference sometimes clash. People present ideas and say that, well, let's do this, let's don't do this because of these differences.
You know, as all of these, there are advantages and disadvantages to
Yeah,
all cultural choices. You don't want to be too individualistic, or it's never for the greater good.
right.
And
Right.
so,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but I feel like one side is more for the greater good than the other side is. That's my view.
yeah. We don't want to go too extreme on the on any of the end. We try to maintain a community together. I presented these ideas for all of us to be aware that there are some people who are leaning towards this way or leaning towards the other way. So that's what it is. Another very important difference is attitude towards context. And you may heard about low context culture and high context culture. In the low context culture, communication is straightforward, explicit, and detailed. The meaning is in the word. So when I said, I want to eat watermelon, I want to eat watermelon. But in high context culture, communication is multi-layered and nuanced. Much is understood without having to be said. So in Korean culture, it's more like high context. So when my mom says, "Oh, the weather is good," I have to figure out whether she wants to go out to walk, or that means she wants to buy groceries, or she wants to dry the laundry. Oh, why is she saying that the weather is good, right? But if you are living in the low context culture, if we want to just do the laundry, let's dry our laundry. The weather is good. You are just saying clearly. And also, this is important in church ministry. Sometimes I ask committee chairs, what do you think about this program? I'm just simply asking because I'm a low context person. When I ask, I just ask the question. Then you can frankly and honestly say, oh, I don't think that's a great idea. Or you can say, oh, that's a great idea. But if you are a high context person, you try to figure out why the pastor is asking this question. Is the pastor has some relation with the organization, or is the pastor trying to push it, or is it just trying to disguise it, pretend it? It's so complicated. So as a low context person, sometimes I have a hard time to communicate with a high context person. But maybe, so far, Swan, you raised the hand. What do you want to say?
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
I have my pastor, he have high contact,
Uh-huh.
communication, not individual communication. Every time he want a person to read the scripture, he don't ask the person, he just put into the bulletin. I don't know, is it right or wrong? So that's why, Thank you.
So you have some way to figure it out. Anybody else? Do you have any episode or some challenges because of this difference in your committee work?
I don't think I have it in committee work, but I have it at home.
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, I have learned to become more of a high context person, or to understand the high context person,
Oh,
because the high context person sometimes comes in the back door because he says I shouldn't be so direct.
Oh,
But And he's very good at diffusing situations by coming in the back door,
Uh-huh.
which sometimes you need to do in order to diffuse a situation rather than hit the person on the head.
Right. Yeah, hit the
So,
button or escalate the conflict. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, that's a good strategy. So, as we said before, there's no right or wrong way. Just be aware whom you are dealing with. So, if you are dealing with a high context person, then you learn after couple contact, you learn how to say and what not to say. And if you are dealing with a low context person, you learn how to do or work with the other person. So simply you have to learn whether the person that you are dealing with is a low context person or a high context person. Once you know, you can explore more. If I'm dealing with a high context person, I have to ask many questions. So do you mean this? Or do you mean that? Or is that what you mean? Or if I do this, are you okay? I have to keep asking and make sure that
right.
that we don't have misunderstandings each other. So on the other hand, if we are dealing with a low context person, well, it's okay. They just say what it means, and there is no other nuance. But when I came from Korea, high context culture, I went to a professor's dinner party, and then the professor said, "Oh, take some dishes," and I said, "It's okay." You know, in Korea we usually say "it's okay" couple times, and the host also asked couple more times. Oh, still have some, and we give and take some of those exchanges a couple times, and then I take, okay, then I will have some and just eat a lot, right? But but the American professor was low context person. Oh, okay, then fine, and he didn't offer anymore. I went hungry all evening because I didn't understand the culture.
Right.
So next time when I go to American professor or a friend's house, if I want to eat, I said, "Give me something." Or if I don't want something, I said, "No, no, I'm not going to eat." And but if you are meet a Korean friend or if you visit Korean family's home, even though you say no, still they will give you, and give you. So you have to be aware. Like who is that? 8:30 a.m. We have a church member who brings delicious food every Sunday. She makes sure that I get one. If I say no, she keep asking and taking. So I said, okay, this is very high context culture. Low context communication is not working here. Okay, reflect on the following questions. I will bring you into three different groups. So in the groups breakout rooms, you can reflect on these two questions. What did you learn about your own cultural location? What other people's cultural location? So I will break you into maybe two groups is enough. I'll break you into two groups. So you can go to your breakout rooms and then discuss what is your culture and what do you learn about you, and you can share each other. And I will give you 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we can come back and discuss together. All right, you can join the room and discuss about your culture. Oh, Mary is here with me. Maybe Mary has some other things to do, maybe.
Did we lose Mary again?
Poor Mary.
Oh, Mary? Yeah, I was in the middle of a conversation and coming back to this.
Oops.
But we will share the two groups. So, which group wants to share what they talk about?
Maybe Janelle can say for us, because she would have the broadest view, Janelle, because Julie and I work together all the time. Do you feel comfortable, Janelle, doing that?
Yeah, I don't share mine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I learned about within my culture, in the Hmong culture, we have something called Hmong. And so say we have like an event at like 5 o'clock. The event actually doesn't start until around like 6 or 7 because everybody comes and gathers, but then there's always like conversation going on. Everybody's talking, getting started until like 7 or 6. So we have something called Hmong time. And then within myself, I learned how to adapt myself, like moving to monochronic time. And because that's like you go into school, you have to be on time. You go to class, be on time, and going to like these, you have to be on time. And so I have to adapt myself with the chronic.
Yeah. So we adapt. And how about the other group? What did you talk about? Oh, Diane, you are muted.
Mute. We kind of learned that we're a product of our growing up environments
Uh-huh.
in many ways, and some of us had to navigate through two parents who were very different
Uh-huh.
in terms of their communication styles.
Uh-huh.
And some cultures, like Paul's culture, is they're direct.
Uh-huh.
And Alan was saying that in his culture, growing up as a preacher's kid, you know, everything was not direct. It was, you know, through that back door again, you know, come around and make things comfortable for everybody. So
good. So you have learned about yourself and others a little bit today. Now we will have a mutual invitation. This time I will invite Alan Cook. Then Alan Cook is sharing what is his one takeaway from today's gathering. And then after he shares his takeaway, he will invite somebody in on the screen, and the person will say, this is my takeaway today. Things like that will go around. So Alan, start.
Oh, thanks.
Because I'm his Isaiah partner. We always
he's being direct.
Right, he's being direct. I think my takeaway is that I need to be more aware of where people are coming from as a chair of the committee to bring everybody into the group so people feel more comfortable. Especially if I have a person that is totally on the other side of where I am, and I can't think of those words, but
yeah.
So, Julie.
Oh, thanks. That's the response that we're looking for. My takeaway from today's training together is that I've got a whole new set of terminology that perhaps I could learn, and then that way we can communicate with each other a little bit more about, what are you, or what are you learning, and that sort of thing. And then also I can maybe in my role as a board of trustees, I can perhaps work on being a little more patient.
I see.
Because the little voice inside me is going like that. The face is like this, but the little voice is going, you're so in, What are you doing?
Okay, good. And invite somebody.
Oh, Diane.
Oh, thanks. Um,
We usually say, thank you for your invitation.
thank you so much, Julie. I'll get you on the next cruise. Um, I think that for me, I've learned that we are all different. We all come from a different space, depending on how we were raised and how we have grown in our lives. And we have to learn that when people are different from us in the way they communicate, that we need to be patient with them and see where they're coming from and learn to be forgiving sometimes of people who can hit you on the head and be extremely direct or people who you wonder when they're ever going to stop talking and get to the point. So we've got to learn to come somewhere in the middle.
Good. And invite somebody.
Oh, okay. So Paul.
Hey, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
My world is, we coming from different culture, and I've been talking that in our culture we have to put respect, I think, in the forehead before we talking. And with my parent, my dad is kind of like he talk one and he don't need to be repeat again, but my mom, she will be. So I will be a direct person that, my dad, like he say, you need to clean your bike, twice a week. I don't have to tell you. And my mom, she's not worried about that. And then, you are the girl, you are the other thing, and I'm the oldest. So anything he want to ask me to do it, either a boy job or a girl job, so I do it. That's my mom. And right now I kind of stay in the maintaining harmony, dealing with the different indirect behind the scene, and to avoid the causing of, that the other people that they are not direct talking. So that's what I am. But the person that, know me, they know that I am direct. Whatever I want to talk to them, I talk to them. I'm not hiding anything. So that's what my word, and I will forgive, the people that, forgive is a big one, and patient.
Okay, good.
That's what we coming to, the God people. That's what we are now. That, I think it's a good thing to learning today lesson too. So thank you to let me in. And actually I forgot every time. That's why I need to remember myself to do this. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much. So I do invite Mary Ann.
Thank you, Safal, for the opportunity to speak. I would just say that I think there's some overriding principles that deal with all of our differences, and that is kindness, acceptance, a smile, patience, enjoyment of other people. Yes. That supersedes any differences that we might have. It's good to know about the differences because that helps you develop those other traits. But I know I've told Pastor that when I go to his sermons, he helps me be a better person because he's so kind. One day he said to me, well, then I should probably tape them so that will help you more. So I think a sense of humor helps too, because life should be enjoyable for everybody and we should enjoy each other. Okay, and so Mary.
Sorry, forgot where the mute button was momentarily. Thank you, Marianne, for the invitation. I am taking away from this training to be aware of these differences again. This is not necessarily new information to me, but just to see it in the context of the committee that I am the chairperson of, versus just how I normally deal with life or other interactions and other ways I've seen this material. So, and I echo a lot of the statements that have already been shared in the group about high context, low context, and monochromatic and polychromatic time. Deaf people are very polychromatic time, so I grew up in that culture. Like, they're going to talk until the restaurant closes, and then they're going to talk another 20 minutes in the parking lot. And then as people are driving away, they're still signing to each other because the events are so few and far between often. So being a teacher, they're very monochromatic time right now. So I'm balancing those worlds and seeing it in my job and in my committee. So I think that's where some of the takeaway that I have from this particular.
Good.
Janelle, I would like to invite you next.
The takeaway is that culture really defines who you are as a person, and so culture for another person defines them like who they are. And so as an individual looking at others, you have to be very like you really have to be like open-minded and see like their perspective is different from your perspective. And so
Yes.
and next, I think, is that everyone who went?
Yes, everybody went. And thank you so much for your participation. And you all shared great wisdom. And I believe that we will have joyful and productive committees and church meetings and faith journey together. As long as we keep this overriding principle to be respectful and understanding, and then we can work together. And thank you so much. And I will upload this video recording on church YouTube and Facebook, so other people who missed this training opportunity will also see what we are talking about. And thank you for your participation. And have great evening. And see you. Some people on Sunday, some people before that. All right.
Thank you, Pastor Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pastor Lee, can I speak with you for a moment after the meeting?
After the meeting, I am recording it, so I have to end this first, and then
Okay.
I can talk to you later.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.